viewers?
I'm sure we will.
I think we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first Trail Talk Live. I am Aaron Shimmons, as you know, and joined by the regulars now that Chrissy has made several appearances, Brian, Ricky, and Chrissy. Thanks for joining us as we talk all about the amazing Barkley marathons that happened last week. Probably the most exciting Barkley that we've had yet. So we're just going to have a chat about that. We've got some questions. We've had some stuff come through on Instagram, polls and questions and DMs and stuff. So we're going to chat about that. Hit us in the live chat. We're seeing some people come through. Yep. Hi, everybody. And yeah, so hit us with some questions. We'll tackle them towards the end. And let's kick things off. So Brian, you joined me for the first of the YouTube live streams, and it was so much fun. Like, there was just so much hype around it. I think we have almost 7,000 views on that first day stream, which is pretty cool. Let's just pose like the question: did this start off like any other Barkley, or was there more excitement about it? There seemed, to me, it felt like there was a little bit of an extra buzz. What's your take there?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I think the Barkley's kind of like the Olympics, or an event that kind of feels like it comes around once every 4 years, even though it's every year, just because it's not something we talk about until Barkley Week is like upon us, or the event, the conch has actually gotten blown. It's not like UTMB or Western States where there's these golden ticket races that, make the race talked about year round. So yeah, I mean, I think it was super exciting the week of, and I think this one did feel different because there was a lot of anticipation once Jasmine was confirmed to be back on the course. The men's field kind of took second fiddle this year, rightfully so. There was some great accomplishments made on the men's side that we'll get into, but did feel unique this year, and that was solely because of Jasmine and what she's done previously and the potential we knew she had to deliver a finish.
Yeah, we can't unsee what we saw at the end of the Barkley, so it's hard to say. Ricky, you joined me for a live stream as well. Whenever America was sleeping, and still we had a lot of viewers in that. We were surprised by how many live viewers and interactions and questions and things in the chat, which was again super fun. It just highlighted that the buzz was everywhere. How did you? What's your take on the Barkley? Do you think it started off with more buzz than normal, or did it just kind of build up?
The buzz for me was going live. You know what I mean, and trying to follow it and checking it out all day and refreshing on Twitter all day and stuff like that. It was super exciting this year. And again, my take on it is kind of what Wolfie's talking about. It's like, yeah, we had some great men's running in Barkley this year, but we had Jasmine. We had Jasmine coming back. We knew how she was doing like on the first loop, and it was just like, could this be the year? And it was like everyone was getting behind her. Like, I mean, like YouTube, everything was blowing up about Jasmine. You know what I mean? Everyone was cheering her on, even non-runners, people who haven't even a clue what Barkley was about. Was just everything was go for Jasmine. It was such a cool thing to be even like a small little part of it. I think like we were that small little part of it, going live, doing something that not everyone else is doing, and it was super exciting for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chrissy, you were obviously watching as well. We didn't get you onto one of the live streams, just the way things worked out on times and stuff. But there was loads of DMs flying back and forth. How did you feel that the hype was this year? Was it different than previous years?
I think yes and no. I think it always like shocks you when Barkley starts, because you're like, I don't know, I was talking with a friend, and it's like, I always feel like it's earlier every year, but it actually really isn't. You kind of forget that it's in March and that all of a sudden it comes up. So I think that like kicks off a lot of excitement. And then, yeah, once we find out Jasmine's in it, getting into kind of loop 2, I think that becomes the focus for sure. I think, Jared and John are great stories. Guillaume, Harvey, there's a lot of great stories in there. But this is something that we've been waiting for. And, we've been watching more and more every year. So there's nothing else that tops that.
Yeah, it didn't feel immortal anymore after this year. Certainly with Ehor Paris, the Ukrainian Canadian, like first attempt, and he's getting it done. Was the Barkley easier this year, Ricky? What do you think?
Weather. I saw. I literally read a post that John Kelly put up today, and it was weather, teamwork, veterans. A mix of all of that, where people weren't working on their own. And then the weather was so much better, and the time that the conch was blowing as well, like, made a huge difference, because that guaranteed then that the final loop was going to be done in daylight. And that definitely. 100%, that's making it a lot easier, and obviously not easy, but it's making it a lot easier. And for those people that are veterans of Barkley, they know how to navigate their way around and bring the other people with them. So it was definitely all about the weather and the time.
Do you think it was weather, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I can only defer to the guys that have competed at Barkley, and I think everybody has said weather was a huge component here. And also, again, yeah, the starting and concluding times enabled those last 4 finishers to sneak in. I think if there was any worse weather or the conch would have been blown at a different time, we might be looking at 1 to 0 finishers this year, with just a slightest narrow margin of something changing with added adversity. We would have seen this finisher list much smaller.
Yeah, and it seemed to be that it started off this year more in pairs than previous years. It felt like there was 2 to 3 pairs, and that certainly helped people learn the navigation. What do you think on that, Chrissy?
Yeah, I think it felt from the get-go like, I don't know that people necessarily had discussed teamwork, but it definitely felt like there was more of an effort for teamwork than in past years, which I think is interesting, because in past years, it maybe was even more critical with weather and fog and rain and, just not being able to see the course as well. So I think it's what, kind of Ricky was saying about that veteran knowledge coming in to the picture now that we have multiple time finishers.
Yeah, and like John Kelly, is he maybe the biggest assist ever in ultra running? Certainly in after like a backyard ultra, John has assisted more people to get finishes there or learn the course in their progression. And like he came through, that was his 3rd finish, 8th attempt, 59:15. That's I think I've got a note down here. It's the 2nd fastest finish, or I mean, you can't really say it's fast, but it's his 2nd fastest time. And maybe what we need to do is ban John for future events. He seems to have like held people's hand over several years now, and as far back as probably 5 years ago, the thing was, the talk in the community was people just like follow John. As long as they can hang on, they'll follow John and learn some of the nav, and then hopefully they'll have learned enough and being able to catch up or stay caught up with him until the end. Brian, what do you think about John there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think there's going to be people watching live or watching this later on that are also going to want us to mention Jared Campbell. He's just as well accomplished at the Barkley as well. So I think you're either team John or team Jared when it comes to who you think takes the crown for this generation's, Barkley king. So, but it'd be interesting to go back and look and maybe see what years, who assisted who more there. But they're synonymous with the Barkley, at least in this generation and since I've been following along.
That's I mean, Jared is we said it all through the previous streams. Like Jared is the guy. John Kelly is a great athlete, but I'm a big Jared Campbell fan. Head down, big gnarly mountain routes. You probably don't find about it. I mean, you could probably dig around fastestknowntime.com and find something he's done that's never made it to social media unless a sponsor or something's put it out there. He got his fourth finish in 59:30. What's your kind of opinion on Jared Campbell, Chrissy?
Yeah, I think honestly for me it's Jared, not John. With his 4 finishes, he's the most accomplished at Barkley. He, his humble like grit, I think stands out to me more than anything that's spoken. So I give him, huge kudos for, as you said, kind of that head down determination to get out there. I mean, the fact that he can do what he does is just insane. And I think his wife said no more.
Did you say humble grit?
Yes.
I like that. That's a good take. Yeah, I'm big fan of Jared. What about you, Ricky? What's your thoughts there on Jared?
Yeah, I think obviously legend of Barkley, but I think if you were a first timer and you were looking for somebody to tag along with, it'd be John Kelly all day, because I think John Kelly's one of those type of guys that would literally hold your hand, because he is more than happy to help everyone else, because like he knows that by helping somebody else, that when things get tough for him, they will also help him, because he's that kind of a guy. I actually raced Lavaredo in like 2019, and I was right on John Kelly's heels, and I was thinking, man, I'm going to pass John Kelly. I'm going to pass John Kelly. I'm going to pass an elite athlete at the time. But I ended up pushing so hard that I was blowing up, and I didn't really have the legs anymore. And when I caught John Kelly dragged my ass to the finish. Rather than saying, I'm going to show you a thing or two, little kid, he dragged my ass to the finish, so I probably wouldn't have finished that race without the help of John Kelly. And I can only imagine he's doing stuff like that in the Barkley year after year, so kudos to John for that. But also, I think he's obviously good enough to let somebody come along with him, and then when the going gets tough, he can then push on. He can push on and get the win if he needs to get the win.
Jared Campbell, humble grit. Ricky Wynn, not so humble. Flex. I love that. Why have you not told us that story before? Please elaborate about your Lavaredo story.
Oh, it's 2019. I was after winning a few races. I wasn't that long doing the ultra run, and I was like Mickey Big Balls here, because I was like after winning a couple of local races, and then I did well in a race in France, and I came back to Ireland, and I a very naive me thought that I was deadly, and I thought that I'm going to go to Lavaredo and kick ass, and whatever. I was hoping for a top something finish. In fairness, I ended up, I think, coming 19th male or something, but no, sorry, 20th, and John Kelly was 19th, so he ended up finishing ahead of me. But I was gunning for John that day, I was gunning for him, but he beat me. Yeah. And he wouldn't even know this, because he's that humble. He was probably thinking he had a hard day. He had a really, really hard day. But he's a legend. He's a legend, and I am a super fan.
Sponsor race as well. La Sportiva, the sponsor of the Lavaredo 120k. Pretty 120k, isn't it?
120k, yeah. 6,000 something meters of climbing, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Epic race.
Keep flexing
Epic
there,
race.
lad. Keep flexing. Love it. And then in fourth we had Greg Campbell, the Kiwi. I thought maybe he only had one fun run, but I heard on single track maybe he has multiple fun runs. But first full finish, 8 minutes behind Jared in 59:38. Hard to find out too much about the guy. Looked up his ultra sign up. It's listed at one of the fun runs. He has done a few other things. He's done the route burn in New Zealand, which is probably the toughest 100 miler there. I ran some of the route burn track whenever I was in New Zealand. It's like one of the iconic tramps, they call their trails, one of the iconic tramps. So don't really have too much to say about him. He's not really getting too much spotlight with everything else that's happened. But Chrissy, what do you think about Greg Hamilton? Just he's kept plugging away, and he's got to finish in the easier.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you have, Ehor's story, when you have the story of the repeating veterans, and then you have the first woman finisher. I think you're right. He totally flew under the radar. Big kudos for him for getting it done. I also had thought that this was only his second attempt. So yeah, I don't have much to say. I mean, maybe this is another case of humble grit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could be quoting an incorrect source, but I've quoted it. Let's take a couple of questions from the chat. Shazne999. I'm not sure if I'll continue reading out all the names, but who is Carl, who seems to be stepping in for Laz this time around? So this guy Carl has taken over as the race director, is as far as I've heard, and Laz has taken a little bit of a back seat. So I'll quote Single Track again one more time, because I think it was quite interesting that he was asked, will you continue to light a cigarette to start the race? And he says, well, Laz only started smoking 12 years ago, or started lighting the cigarette to start the race 12 years ago. So maybe what we said in the live stream last week, Brian, maybe someday Barkley will be started by somebody taking a draw out of a vape. Who knows? I mean, right. times are changing, like strawberry lime or something. Who knows? Anyone got anything to say then on this guy Carl? Anyone got any further intel other than that?
No, but it's kind of fascinating though, because I mean, Laz is just as big of figure of the Barkley as any of the competitors we've talked about in this stream now. I mean, it's kind of like Dana White for the UFC. Like when you think about Laz moving on and not being the face of Barkley anymore, leaves more questions than answers right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go too far, but I think it's right that he brings in an understudy at this stage, just to, give him a little bit more scope to step away and maybe get involved in less of it. But still, I don't see him ever going anywhere. This stuff's his life. We'll take another question. Pat's appreciating our content over the past few days. Yeah, thanks, Pat. Pat's a subscriber, so thanks for that as well. And how do you blah blah blah? It's the Barkley marathons. Well, let's make each lap a full marathon, same time limit. Yeah, we don't really know how long the laps are. We kind of just guess that they're 20 to 26 miles or so, right? What's your take on the stats of the Barkley, Ricky?
Well, like, as far as I know, it's roughly 20 miles, 20,000 feet of vertical gain in each loop, making it a 100-mile race with ridiculous amounts of elevation. I don't know exactly what each loop is, but I'm guessing it ends up, but we'll never know because we never see any Strava details. We never see anyone's after race, which would be super cool to see every now and again, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you love to just see Jasmine Paris' Strava? I'd love to see that, and I'm sure she'd love to see it, so.
Is she on Strava?
I don't even know. I don't know, man. I don't know. But that'd be so cool to see that. But I don't know. It's the question that they want to, maybe he's thinking of making it a longer race or in the same time limit. I don't know. There's so many things you could do to make it, because people are thinking now that the race is a little bit easy because we've had 5 finishers this year. There's still nothing easy about it. It's like Harvey Lewis only managed 1 or 2 loops. Harvey Lewis ran for 1,000,000 days or something a few weeks, months ago, and he only managed 2 loops. So anyone that's thinking the Barkley's easy is out of their mind.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll come on to navigation via our tea drinking mate, Damo Hall. So we sort of thought through the course of the live streams that Damien Hall had the potential to get a finish. He had the ability in terms of endurance, and he's got the experience there. He had the right crew. He had the right running partner. But when he had to go solo, did he have the right navigational skills? And if only Paddy Power were taking bets, we could have won a few quid, Ricky. But unfortunately, what we thought came true, and Damien came back. He finished the loop from the wrong direction, which means he got lost. I don't know if he got all the pages or not, but like we thought he was going to get lost. Did you think he was going to get lost, Chrissy?
I think in this year with the weather, I was hoping people weren't getting lost, and for the most part they didn't. So I think it was a little bit surprising to me. They had all the best conditions possible to not get lost, at least.
Yeah, but if you only get lost navigating whenever it's bad weather or foggy or night, then are you really navigating with a map and compass or just a compass? You're relying on line of sight or visual cues in that sense, and I think that might be how Damien Hall maybe navigates rather than getting the compass out and running to 36 North or whatever the next book or the next marker that he's getting to is on. Brian, what do you think of the whole nav part, massive, unique part of Barkley and the thing that's tripped up Damien Hall?
Yeah, I'm not going to be the first guy to talk shit about navigating. I would have been lost with my ass in my hand. Shit? Yeah.
You talk shit, please.
Not with guys who get lost at the Barkley, because yeah, no, I would have been lost loop one. I don't even get the concept of it. Like, I can't even get my head wrapped around what this even looks like out there as an event, going from book to book. I mean, we call it a loop, right? But like, I think people are picturing this nice circle, right? Or this like maybe just slightly got some little edges on it, but like, I don't know how much of a loop it looks like. This thing could look like the most chaotic, scary loop you've ever seen. So, I mean, I run out here a lot for Aravaipa, like we know, Javelina. That loop is a true loop. Like, you can't get lost on that loop because that loop is truly circular, right? I don't think Barkley is that way. So I'm going to give Mr. Hall there a pass and not be critical at all of his navigating.
It's something you can't learn in a year or two. This is like Jasmine Paris has been a junior cross-country fell runner. It's part of navigating, and fell running you kind of learn it in a very simplistic way other than orienteering, because in fell running you're just running to, I mean, the most basic of races, you might just have a couple of compass bearings. You know the route is 2 or 3 compass bearings or grid references. You take the compass bearing and that's what you run to, and it's just up to the top of the peak, or you know, whatever the marker is, and then back. So it's a good way to learn it, and it's a good way to learn it running. But Damien Hall doesn't come from a fail running background. Ricky, what do you think? Because I need to come to you because you're Mr. Get Lost.
Exactly. He did a Ricky on it. That's what Damien Hall did. So like that, we're going to make this famous. He did a Ricky on it. He got lost. Simple as that. But I mean, you're talking about a race where, yeah, you need nav and you need to be very, very good at doing it. But you're told that there's a page in between 2 trees that look like something in a forest. It's in a forest full of fucking trees. You know, just because it's the most basic information you're getting from the race director. It's very, very basic. And like little things like that could be 10 minutes, could be 15 minutes, could be 20 minutes. And that's in the daytime. And then in nighttime, it's harder again. So like it's eating into the clock all the time. Little things, little mistakes, little mess ups. So I can only imagine how easy it is to get lost in Barkley. I get lost in races that you cannot get lost in.
With flags.
And I get lost in them. Yeah, with flags, with GPS with everything, with that deviate thing going on. I'm watching you're 30 meters away from where you're supposed to be, and I still don't take heed of it because I'm a dumbass. So like these people are experts at nav. Otherwise, they wouldn't be getting to loop 3 and 4. They wouldn't be getting there unless they were experts. But like they're experts that are out there for like 45, 50 hours, no sleep, fucking hallucinating, losing their minds, and they just want to finish. They just want to finish. So super easy to get lost, I'd imagine.
That's the thing. Like each element in itself can be trained and you can be good at, but then you just throw sleep deprivation on top of any of that, and it's just like, fuck this shit. How do you do this? You know, it's just so difficult at that point. Chrissy, what do you think about the whole sleep deprivation part? That guy Ehor looked like he finished and he wasn't really tired.
Yeah, I think I had a friend call him the silent assassin. I mean, the training and the accomplishments that Ehor has that we don't talk about. I mean, he's got to be one of the more prepared people in that field to understand, you know, how to work with sleep deprivation and how to keep going. And you know, it's one of the biggest things that I personally want to explore, because it's like, I think Ricky, like the mind blown, like I just don't understand how you still have all your faculties and can keep navigating to like such small detail when you're that out of it and that calorie deprived as well. Like it's mind boggling. So I do agree that, you know, Damo, you know, probably just had the smallest little things that went wrong and got turned around. And, you know, it's not all on just navigational error or lack of, you know, orienteering training. Yeah,
one, you know, 2 or 3 degrees out on a compass over a kilometer means you're fucking miles away from the point. What else have we learned about Ehor? Chrissy, do you know anything else other than what we know from Ultra Sign Up? Basically, reading down that he's won everything there is in Canada, but his sort of ultra run history doesn't go back too far. Anyone in the chat, you know, chip in if you know anything other than what we know from Ultra Sign Up.
How old is he?
Younger than me.
Yeah, I think he's in his like probably late 20s or early 30s or something. He's pretty young. I think Gary and Linda Robbins probably have the best intel on him, honestly, beyond Ultra Sign Up.
He's pretty badass, because at the end of it, I think he was asked a question and he said, it's a 60-hour race, not a 107-hour race. And he kind of shrugged his shoulders. Like, that's just badass. Like, you know, shrug your shoulders. It's only a 60-hour race. Sure, what about it? Like, you know, but like there is people like him. There's like freaks out there that can just do this. And he probably did think it was easy. He'd probably go back and say, Barkley, what are you talking about? It was easy. But he's a freak. He's a freak.
Alyssa in the chat says he's 29. So
perfect.
29, not much ultra running, ultra sign up history, which means maybe he hasn't gone to the well too many times, and he's just able to crank out these performances at this point in his career. I mean, you don't at 29 do you even get tired? Like sleep deprivation, it seems to, like, the point where I start to lose my marbles gets shorter every year. First time I hallucinated was 38, and then it was 35, and I don't know where it is now, but I'm pretty sure it's maybe closer to 32. So, and obviously you're getting slower and your sleep deprivation's getting earlier, so I'm probably fucked. So, like, whenever Jasmine stood up at the end of, or before she went out on loop 5, like, she was just hammering the food in. She looked absolutely wrecked. When she stood up, she kind of stumbled a little bit, and Jared was walking up kind of like chill. It wouldn't have looked out of place if he had a cowboy hat or something on. And she just looked wrecked, but she still got it done. So, like, Chrissy, maybe you kick us off talking about Jasmine. How the hell did she just go out and get that done in the last lap? She had to run 13.5-hour loop, and that was in and around the region of previous loop times. I think I heard she had to run it half an hour quicker than Ehor. to finish under the time limit, which is just like mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, I think when she got to the top of Rat Jaw, she had basically 4 hours, and they said usually people do it in 3 hours 50. So she had to hammer the rest of that. And that's not to mention that her fourth lap was, I think, slower than her fifth lap. So I think she had like 13 hours, and she had already done a 14-hour lap. So she had to, I mean, all I can say is pulling from decades of experience, like, of knowing how to get it done. I mean, the orienteering has to be like running through her blood. Just absolutely incredible. Because yes, I saw that video of her eating, and like I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen here? And then when you see the video of her on Rat Jaw, you're like, okay, she is fucking serious about this. Like, she has a solid chance to make up that time.
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons for the time difference on 4 was they maybe had 3 hours of darkness at the start of 4, and then the rest of it was like improving throughout the day. So that was maybe a factor on the time, but even still, she pulled out a really good time on the fifth loop. Brian, what's your thoughts on Jasmine gutting it out? I think I think we'll maybe come on to this at the same time. I think maybe she wanted to just get it done so she doesn't have to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love women. Women are the best. I mean, without women, there's
Also
not
a
even
big
an
fan.
ultra running. Yeah. I mean, there's not even an ultra running sport without women. Jasmine just reminded us how badass women are, and how much we need to appreciate them and celebrate, all of their accomplishments. So no, but I mean, seriously, yeah, women are the best. I mean, that story tugs at your heartstrings. I mean, it's a human story. Everybody can relate to it. It's genuine, right? You didn't need a $10 million publicity stunt in the desert to try and feel connected to Jasmine this weekend. Everybody was there. The BBC, New York Times. It just shows you when something's real and people connect to it, like it moves, across the world. So we do have, I think, splits and data that make it even more fascinating and unfathomable of what she continued to dig out of herself in that last loop. And you're right. I think when you've come that close before and you know what it takes just to get to that position, it's that extra little bit of fear of knowing you might have to come back and do it again that gets you over the hump to get it completed. So we can all, probably pull experiences from races out, that we did it and accomplished it out of a fear of having to go back and, get that far again. So yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, you always have to find there's something that motivates you to get it done. Ricky, we'll come to you in a second here, but I want to just say something that Shazne has said in the chat. It's been pointed out in the UK how humble Jasmine's husband Conrad is. That basically he wanted to comfort her to finish, but you could see him standing back. He was the guy standing with the glasses on, standing beside John Kelly. John and Jared had like the bonkers faces, and Conrad was just standing there, almost like concerned, but give her moment. And a little bit of background on Conrad. I think I told this story in one of the previous streams, but he came over one year to the Mourne Mountains in Ireland because Jasmine was racing the British Championship fell running race. It was a long distance 20-mile race, and he came over and he registered for the Dennis Rankin round, which is a 90k self-navigated route, 6,000 meters of vert. What's that? 18,000 foot or something for our American friends. And he just on-sighted it with a map and compass and set a new record. So that dude can run as well. And very little social media, puts nothing out there. He went out and did that round in, I think, 14, 15 hours or something like that. And I'm on the committee, so the registrations come through me and I verify the rounds and things with a couple of other members. And, you get an opportunity to ask people questions, what was the highlight of it, and, how's nutrition or whatever, just to gain some, like, we're all interested in this stuff. And he says, yeah, I just got a couple of flapjacks and I could see that there was some river crossings on the route. That was his nutrition plan for the 15 hours, and he set a record time. So humble crusher as well. So Conrad's a good, certainly a good guy to have by your side. Ricky, what do you think about Jasmine gutting it out there?
There's a lot of humble grit in this episode today.
Not from you.
But no, like I gotta say, like for me, I have to admit that I saw that she needed that it was 4 hours, right, to get to the finish from Ratjaw, and I was thinking on her fifth loop she's got to do that in under 4 hours. Nah, I was like, nah, she's not going to get it. Like, she's not going to get it, right? And yeah, okay, she ended up getting it. But I mean, thought process while she was trying to get it, there's little bits like you're you know what I mean? You're almost 60 hours in. There's got to be parts of your brain that are saying, Jasmine, I've got a record. I'm after doing what no woman has done. I can quit. There's no problem. No shame. Everybody's still going to go mental because she'll have got further than any other woman and think. But just to have that extra bit in the tank to go, no, fuck that. I'm getting it done. I'm getting it done. And it's like every single bit of will, grit, determination like that she used to fall across that yellow gate was insane to watch. Like, it was insane, because I even text you, Aaron, and I was saying, like, I was sitting on a couch in Westport, like a fat guy watching the telly, kind of going, I don't think she's going to get it, man, like, and she just blew it out of the water with like 90 seconds to spare or something, like that's blockbuster movie stuff, right?
Yeah, that's why the high for us is so high, because we all thought it was going to be just a failed attempt, missing it by a couple of minutes. Thought we were going to have to watch her having a Gary Robbins at the gate kind of moment, curling up into the fetal position, going, oh, I've not done it. But she did it. And we were watching it live as far as we were talking about it live and waiting on the tweet to come through. And Brian and I were we did a live stream at that point, and we found out that there was about a 2-minute delay between something happening on the course and the tweet getting put out. So because with the 60-hour time limit happened, and then it took 2 minutes for the tweet to come out, and we caught the tweet, and it was only 20 seconds old. So at the 250 people in the chat, and Brian and I both erupted. It was like, it was like a World Cup winning goal or something. Brian, do you think Jasmine will come back, and why?
Yeah. I mean, I think she will come back. I think when you become the first female finisher, it might be something inside of you that wants to be there and, kind of take the next woman across, whether that's Courtney or somebody to be named at a later date. So I don't think maybe she comes back the very next year, but yeah, I think she's not done. There's very few events out there that are probably going to dig as much out of her as the Barkley did. So she'll probably go out and maybe take a year or two off and find that the Barkley is the thing that satisfies her the most and come back and challenge herself.
Brian's froze for me. What about you guys? Oh, we're back. Yeah, sorry, you froze up there for a second. Oh. But so you think you think she's going to come back?
Yeah.
Do you think Courtney is the person for her to pair up with?
Yeah. So I guess when I froze, that's what I was saying. I said I don't know whether it'll be Courtney or somebody else to be determined, but yeah, I think she'll be back. Maybe she takes a year off, and finds that very few events get as much out of her like the Barkley does. And she'll come back again to test herself further and maybe help a female that shows potential to get a finish as well.
I'm all for that why. I think that's a great why. I think everyone would get behind that. I just feel that I don't know, what is the flight time from London or Manchester or Glasgow or wherever she would fly from to Tennessee? It must be probably 10-hour flight or something, and the green runners might not be too keen on the carbon footprint, but maybe taking a year break and the fact that she does train and cycle to other events, that, you know, she's putting a wee bit of carbon in the bank for another Barkley. So, I mean, at the minute, she's saying she's happy she got it done, and that was one of her motivations to get to the gate. She'll not have to do it again, but we've all said that after a hard challenge. Chrissy, what do you think? Do you think she'll come back, and why?
Yeah, I think I'm with Brian on this one. I think that my initial instinct after hearing her talk after the race was, okay, she's accomplished what she wanted to accomplish, and there's, you know, other cool things out there that she could really put her name on. But I love the idea of her coming back and giving the assist in the same way, kind of passing, you know, what Jared gave to her on to the next woman. I think it might take a couple years of doing that, though. I don't know that I can think of a woman right now who is going to be the next female finisher, who is, you know, we've got to get some more fun runs in before we can kind of see who can do what she just did. And I think the course obviously gets harder every year, and that, you know, that gives her more challenges, but it also gives future female finishers more challenges.
There's a thing though, like growing up in the UK or Ireland, you have the opportunity in I'm going to say trail running, but it's really like fell running and mountain running. It's not, we don't really think of it just like as trail. You have the opportunity to learn navigation. You know, our clubs will have mountain navigation courses for fell running. Is there that type of support in the US that will help, like Courtney has the endurance, Courtney has the ability, but does she have the navigation to do it, is my point. Like, is there someone going to come through that's going to have the right mix of, what is there, like 5 ingredients to have success at the Barkley? Brian, maybe you take this one.
No, I'm with Chrissy. I don't have a name off the top of my head that would be that woman, and that includes...
I mean, in terms of a system, like, is there...
a system?
How does somebody come through in the US and learn these things if it's not purely for the Barkley, which would probably make it too little too late?
You either grow up outdoors in the woods, like I think some of these men have. You got scouting experience, maybe some clubs as youth. I don't know, like as a young adult, how you just pick up on it because you're an avid runner. I think you backdoor into this type of event through hiking, mountaineering. I don't know. It's all foreign to me. I'm a runner. I'm not a route finder.
Right finder. That says it all.
I got Siri. That's all I need.
Well, I mean, you would probably default to think that navigation is a skill that you would learn in the military, but the military is probably leaning on technology for this kind of stuff now. So, I mean, that's probably not even a good enough school. Just read a couple of things out of the chat here. Conrad was 3rd in the winter spine behind Jack Scott and Damien Hall. So yeah, there you go. And we didn't hear anything about it. You know, unless you're following the results, you didn't even know, because he just went out and you know, took 3rd in the hardest winter race in the UK, or potentially the hardest winter race in Europe. Jasmine saying Emma Stewart next Barkley winner. The Irish woman that's coming through with some really great results. I'm not sure of her background. Ricky, do you have any intel on Emma Stewart?
Well, all I can tell you about Emma is Emma just won the Morris Mullins 50k in Ireland, which was a trials race for the Euros in June. So Emma's just after crushing Trans Grand and came 3rd behind like the elite Courtney Dauwalter. And now then 2 weeks later, she heads over to Ireland to run a trials race against maybe 6 or 7 very, very good runners in Ireland at the minute. And she blew them all away and finished 1st. And now she's heading to the Euros. So the girl can hike fast, hike long, run fast, run long, and do the short stuff as well. And I'm not sure about her nav, but like, given where she lives and like where she's been living the last few years, and let's say the people she hangs around with and trains with and races with, they're all very good nav men. Like she does a lot of her training with Paul Tierney, who's another very good Irish runner living over in the UK, who is a very, very good nav man. So if she's gaining experience from the likes of him, then there's no reason why she wouldn't go and try Barkley. You know, definitely one for it could happen. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think we need to get plant the seed for the Wicklow round in Emma's head. That would be a good test of some navigation and the ability to learn it as well. So that could be a good one. Joseph in the chat, wonder if someone could make a shift from orienteering sport like Judith Wider. That's a great point. I mean, if Judith was an ultra athlete, then that would be a great one. Also, some of the other Scandinavians, like what do you call that girl that won CCC or OCC last year?
Ingvild?
Ingvild Kaspersen, yeah, she has an orienteering background. She's super fast, coached by Tom Evans. So that's another one. But you know, Barkley kind of attracts this sort of masochist of runner, not the sort of person that's super motivated to like win a UTMB. So let's move on to one of the other questions. How does Laz make it harder next year? Because this was meant to be a harder year. Jared said the course was harder. I forget what the quote was. He said the new section was brutal. But what does Laz do for 2025? Chrissy, why don't you give us your take on that one?
I think I saw the quote somewhere on Twitter that the new hill was like Ratjaw on cocaine. And it sounded like Ratjaw itself was extra brambly this year. And this new hill was even worse than that. So in terms of course changes, you've got to think that there's a finite amount of places he can put people that don't require, you know, starting to get into like some climbing equipment on some of the rock features in there. You know, Ehor threw out the do another loop into the universe, which, you know, I don't put it past Laz, quite frankly. I mean, the course originally started out as something like 50 to 55 miles and then graduated to a 100-mile course, which we think could be, you know, as much as, you know, low to mid 100s in reality, if you think each loop is 26 miles. So I don't know. I think, you know, you only have so much territory to work with. You know, weirder start times earlier in the year. You could go earlier into March for sure. The first year they did March 1st. And 2022 was the second earliest year, March 8th. So you can play with the weather more. I think the weather was just super lucky this year, which we just don't see. Guys, what do you think?
Daylight saving, I think, would make if it was brought earlier in the year, you've more chance of worse weather, a little bit more darkness. Darkness is guaranteed to slow people down. Brian, what do you think about the whole darkness factor? Do you think that's going to be high on his list?
Yeah, I mean, he controls, you know, day it's held on. He controls when the race starts. But he doesn't control weather, right? So, but to me, like, I don't know, this is something I think you either love or hate about the Barkley. All this unknown variability of what the course looks like year after year, how many books are on the course. Like, you either love that or you hate it. I kind of fall back and forth on it. Right now, I'm kind of feeling like I hate it because it takes up such a large amount of the conversation. And it creates too much emphasis on Laz and not the runners and the course itself. Like, it's, you know, it's Laz's mastermind and we have to get inside of it and figure this thing out. So it makes Laz the focus of the event, which is, I don't know, I don't necessarily like that. So we'll see. I mean, unless he's got some cloud seeding technology where he can bring in rain clouds to ensure some fog and some heavy hypothermia conditions, all he can really do is change the length and maybe add in a few more books, but we'll see.
I think one thing that I think would help, and not a mad change, would be send people out in alternate direction. So everyone can go out on the first loop in the one direction, and then as you finish, it alternates. So the first person back chooses what direction they want to go, or they go anti-clockwise, and then the next person's clockwise, and just you would basically not be able to pair up with somebody. Well, you couldn't pair up with the same person more than once, or it would be hard to. So, what do you think about that as an option, Ricky?
Nail on head there, because like I don't think it's right, like what Brian was saying about bringing it back, or what Chrissy was saying, bringing it back and changing the weather and making the weather harder, and like come on, it's hard enough. Like the weather's the weather, right? And if it's good weather, then that's just the luck of the draw, right? That's the luck of the game, and fair play, like that you got to run in not fucking horrendous, miserable weather. But by doing that, and if you do alternate, then nobody gets to pair up, like you were saying. So that's definitely going to make it a lot harder for the newbies and the non-veterans of the race. And there's no teamwork in it then, and I think like a lot of it is done with teamwork at the minute, because like, look, when somebody's having a good time or a bad time, the other guy or the other girl is pulling that person along and helping them get to the finish line. Whereas, and if you were doing that, it'd make it so much harder without us obsessing about the weather and the time, maybe the time of day he blows the conch. That could be something as well that you'd look at, so that it'd almost guarantee that you'd be doing that final loop in darkness. I think that could be an obvious one, right? So that makes the last loop harder, because if you make the last loop harder, then you're surely not going to have as many finishes as you do this year, But yeah. Come on, lads, it's a super hard race. Like, everyone's going to ask, it's getting easy now, the Barkley. It's not that it's getting easy, it's that people are just putting the work in. They're putting the training in. They know what it takes. They know the limits they have to push their bodies to get it done. And kudos to them.
Yeah, I think we had the perfect mix of certain ingredients to get so many finishers, and 2 years in a row as well. Just in the chat, if stick in your responses, how do you think that we could make it, or Laz could make it harder next year? And Chrissy, what do you think about the whole start time thing? I like the change in the start time because it means you could guarantee that the last loop's in darkness, and therefore it gets rid of the people without strong navigating, but it also narrows the window of when the conch is going to get blown, so people are maybe more ready for the start. What do you think?
I think it makes it too predictable. I don't think that's Laz's way. I think he's going to keep changing that up. I do like your idea of alternating instead of going clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, and then the fifth loop being alternating. I could see him just randomly, when somebody gets their pages counted, being like, all right, you're going this way now. And instead of alternating it, just throwing out whatever he feels like at them. Seems more of his style.
Any other ideas on how we could make it harder next year? Well, not us.
I mean, you can start letting less veterans in, get more fresh blood.
Yeah, John Kelly's been there too much, right? 8 goes at it. Come on. I mean, if he was he's taking a spot there for a rookie. Wolfie has either lost his battery or lost his internet, but we shall continue. Oh, he's back. He's back. See? This is what happens whenever you're live, folks. That's
what happens when you're recording in the car and you got security guards coming at you asking what you're doing.
You need blinds in the car.
Yeah.
So one other option that was posed in the Instagram question I put out about how will Laz make it harder, which I think was really interesting one, and it came from somebody who was in Frozen Head, was change the location. same rules, same everything, but don't do it in Frozen Head. Move it up to the was it the Blue Mountains or the Smoky Mountains or whatever it was? But basically, move it to a different state park. Thoughts on that one? You take that one, Ricky.
Oh, I don't
Ricky,
know. Like,
Ricky, any chance you could put some money in the electric meter there? It's dark in Ireland. Good to see you.
Daylight savings. I want to be like the Barkley. You know, it's got to get
That was
darker.
money saving.
Yeah, it's got to get darker as the day goes on. You know, it can't be easy all the time, guys. You know, I don't know. I like. It's Frozen Head Park, like, you know, it's the whole story about the prison, the guy that got away, the time he was out on the course when he got caught. Like, I don't think he can just up and move it and keep it the same. You know, it's sure, if that was the case, wouldn't you be doing that with every race all over the place? Like, it is the Barkley, and that's where it is. I think it needs to stay in Frozen Head Park, you know.
Yes, but the yellow gate and the park and all of that stuff is just made up. You know, Laz has just made it up, and now we've kind of embedded in history that that's where it is. But the backyard format has translated to everywhere. I mean, it happens everywhere, and it's kind of the same kind of deal. And it's a Laz event. So, Brian, I know you're chomping at the bit on this one, so please let us know what you think about leaving and moving it from Frozen Head.
I'm not taking the bait. You're just trying. I know you don't fucking buy this for 1 minute, moving it from Frozen Head. It's bullshit, right? Like, anybody that watches sports knows in golf, you got the Masters. It's at Augusta. You got the same visuals. It's iconic because of the location, right? Like, these symbols, like you could make a T-shirt with just that Golden Gate, nothing else, and people know what it is, right? Like, it's bad business. It's bad for the history of the event. It's an iconic location. And I don't think the participants would even appreciate and buy into that move. They want to go get it done at Frozen Head State Park. You don't move it, period.
Well, I mean, that makes the one thing that's unique to Barkley and Ultra easier navigation, because I used to do this Wednesday orienteering training every Wednesday, and in summer it was easy, right? Because there was like 6 places we went to 1 week every week in a row, right? And because you knew the venue, you knew the park, you got sloppy on the map and compass, and you looked at the description, you know, re-entrant beside fence post or whatever. You know, I know where they put that marker, and you just fucking ran to the marker. You didn't care about the compass bearing. So ultimately, Frozen Head, an experienced competitor, is going to make people navigate quicker and easier, and take one of the major parts of difficulty out of the race. Chrissy, what do you think about that aspect? Should we move
I've actually well, so moving from Frozen Head, I think, just makes it a different race. It can be another Laz race, but it's not Barkley. I was actually just alerted to a new John Kelly post kind of about this question about course changes, about how it changed this year, and, you know, what is the intent. And he was saying there were 2 new books. He said there were an unquantifiable amount of changes to the course, taking his favorite section out and adding that new hill in, for example. And I think he kind of came down to, look, teamwork and good weather have made last year and this year the difference makers. And, you know, if you don't have those, then I think you keep the same impossibility intact without having to change location or, you know, too much of the format either. So just had to bring that to your guys' attention because it seemed very on topic.
So you wouldn't move it. Okay. I thought that was going to get more traction. I'm not saying I'm a fan, but I certainly think that. Well, maybe we should put a vote up on Instagram and see what the people think, because
The people wanted in Frozen Head. The people wanted in Frozen Head. Come on, man. You know that. You know that.
Yeah.
That's a waste of a vote.
I'm turning this shit off if I'm in the live stream right now here and move it from Frozen Head. They invested an hour of this live show just to hear you say move it? Come on.
I didn't say I was behind it. I'm just floating what somebody put as a legitimate response from an elite athlete that was in Frozen Head State Park. So interesting.
Did they finish?
They weren't. It wasn't someone that was competing.
Oh, gotcha. I was going to say maybe they were just thinking that'd be a better way for them to get a finish.
So let us know in the chat if you think that is a ridiculous option or not. And also, we're coming up. We're just over the hour or just around the hour. So we'll bring this stream to a close right now. So basically, what do you think's next for Jasmine? Do you think we're going to see her do anything else for the rest of the year? Chrissy, you take this one.
I think because she doesn't have much social media, I don't follow her that closely. So I don't know how many huge efforts like she does like this in a year. I would think this will take a lot out of her for a few months at least, and come towards the end of the year, maybe something else comes in. But
it's the end of March. This is a prime bounce back around the end of summer. Still get an effort in before the season closes out. Ricky, what do you think? Do you think we'll see her toe the line of something else?
Wouldn't you? I've seen her in Austria for the World Champs, so she was there for the 85K as well, and I don't think she had a really good day there. I can't remember exactly what position she came in, but I don't think she was overly happy with how she ran that day. And I kind of think you're suggesting that maybe she has time to recover and get some training in and arrive at something like UTMB and maybe smash UTMB. But for that, I'd have to know if she has stones or if she's got enough to get qualified for UTMB. So again, it's just guessing, right? But how cool would that be? Would that be something that would interest Jasmine? Like, would she like to do UTMB and go toe to toe with the likes of Courtney and something like that? That'd definitely get a lot of views. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, us super fans would love to see some shit like that, but I think Jasmine's more of a UTMR sort of girl. Monte Rosa is her sort of jam, I think. Yeah, some people saying in the chat, similar event, don't move it. No move from Pat. Thanks for that. And people also saying, yeah, she's got something coming up in May. Yeah, so that's the Scottish Island Peaks race, which is actually a race that I was invited to do in 2015 or something. And I fucking wish I could do it, but it falls the same weekend as my wedding anniversary. So I could probably get away with doing it now, but in 2015, 2 years married or something, there's no way I was going to be allowed to do the Scottish Island Peaks race, which is a team of, there's various team sizes, but basically there's 2 runners and 2 sailors, and they sail around certain route in the Scottish, in the Western Isles of Scotland. And it's a boat race, and then they dock, and the runners get off and have to run a course. And then they come back to the boat, go on the boat, and the boat goes to another island, and then they do another run, and then they have to make it back to, I forget where it's based out of, maybe Skye or somewhere like that. So Scottish Island Peaks race, it's not a big endeavor. I think probably from what I've been told, the hardest bit of it is the rough seas rather than the running. In a few days, it might be 20 miles of running. It's kind of like fell running type of races, and it's more the rough seas that are the difficulty there. So, guys, I think Chrissy, yep.
Oh, I wanted to chime in. So I think she's actually gotten 6th at UTMB in the past. So I don't see her going back. And she has spoken about being interested in UTMR, Hard Rock, and Tour. So I don't know. Obviously, at least 2 out of 3 of those are probably off the table for this year. But I could see next year being an interesting case for Hard Rock or Tour.
Yeah, Hard Rock would be awesome. She has finished UTMR 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah. Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I think this is what's kind of frustrating with Barkley is it leaves our mind, or these competitors leave our mind as quickly as they enter it. It's kind of like an Olympian, right? Like we celebrate their gold medal and then they go away for 4 years before they pop up again in our minds. Like I can't think of anybody who's a Barkley finisher that then goes into a normal calendar of racing on the global scene in traditional elite races. So whether she does something or not, it's not going to be something that, I'm going to catch my attention on. I'd have to intentionally follow what she's doing. She's not going to just easily blend back into the racing calendar. And most of the guys who have failed at Barkley are the ones then who do go and race Hard Rock or show up at UTMB. Your Garys, Jamil comes to mind, right? Courtney. So it's just frustrating. The ones that succeed at Barkley, you don't hear from them much again because that's their personality type. Maybe they go do an epic FKT and you hear about it. And the ones that fail are the ones that you see go on and race other big events.
Ricky, have you got something there?
Yeah, but isn't that what's so cool about Barkley? When Barkley started off, nobody knew what it was. It's only got mainstream in the last, I'd say 5 years, right? I'd say that, that more and more people are getting to see what it's all about. And Barkley never set out to do that. It's just that we have fallen in love with what Barkley is. So, it still is that race for those, I don't know what you want to call them, eccentric mental cases that, love torturing themselves and love pain and misery. It still is that, but then you have elite athletes that are looking at it the same way we're looking at it, and they want to be part of it as well. So Barkley has just evolved, and you will still have that sort of person that finishes Barkley but doesn't want the limelight. They don't want the fame and the glory. They don't want to be like me. So they're happy to be humble. They're happy to be about their business, and then it is up to us to follow along and stay in tune with what they're doing,
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Pat in the chat is asking about more live chat, more live stream. Yeah, I think might be the question. Yeah, we're going to be doing more live streams. The main show will continue. The plan is 2 of those a month, and maybe we're going to keep that Tuesday slot, this slot, and do 2 lives a month, depending on how busy the season is. I can't see it happening in January, December, but we're coming into the peak season and the build up. So there's going to be plenty to talk about, and that's the type of shit we like to talk about, right? Just trail running, ultra running, who's doing what was the results. So subscribe, hit the bell, get notified, because there's more coming. And we actually have way more coming over the next few days, because if anyone, bit of a counterculture event, but the Speed Project started yesterday in Santa Monica Pier in LA, which is a kind of an unsanctioned sort of run to Las Vegas. And we're going to be doing live streams about that. And we have some of the competitors and crew coming on to join us for live streams. So the plan actually is to do one of those today in a couple of hours. I've got a friend out there. He's currently somewhere in I think he's maybe about 8th or 9th in the solo, unsupported, carrying everything for 300 miles. And I shot him a message and he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we're going to be coming to you live from the Speed Project. A couple other questions. Courtney doing the Bob Graham. Wouldn't we like to see that, Ricky? Courtney on the Bob Graham?
I was only watching before I came on here. I was watching Henrietta's Bob Graham round on. It's just up on YouTube now, a couple of days. So I got about 15 minutes of it. So I'm looking forward to watching the rest of that. But yeah, definitely, that'd be super cool to see Courtney give that a go. Yeah, and again, she'd have her work cut out there as well. And it depends on what time of the year she does it as well, because Henrietta's was a winter record, so it depends on what Courtney wants to do. But yeah, look, as a super fan, it'd be super cool to see Courtney smash the Bob Graham round. Yeah, such a legendary round.
Yeah, that would be great to see. Chrissy, any interest in doing any racing in the UK, or trying your hand at fell running or the bob?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of, or really any experience in fell running, besides what I see
run
from
up and down a hill. That's
yeah,
it.
up and down
Generally
mountains.
grassy, sometimes rocky.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I am always motivated by new places and new challenges.
All right. Let's wrap it up and bring the stream to a close. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for coming into the chat and saying hi. Check the description of this. You can connect with everyone on the panel on Instagram. Slide into the DMs, give them some shit. Slide into my DMs. Remember to vote in the polls. That's the shit that we talk about. Hit subscribe. Go and get some discounts. TORQ, GOREWEAR, all of that good stuff. So we'll see you next time.
You.